Hi, it's so good to have you with us, Lei, today. I just wanted to start by talking about this goal that everyone is talking about here at COP28 about tripling renewables globally. You know, there's so much talk and promises and pledges, but you are someone who's actually working on the ground to deploy renewables all over the world on 6 continents. I mean, what do you think is the one thing that's the most misunderstood about this ambition?
Right. Always good to coming to COP. I do believe COP is kind of reality checkpoints. Also give us a reflection for next year, at least. Now we know what's happening now. So overall, we are off the track. And particularly in the hard-to-abate segment. We see the shipping, iron, green steel, cement. So this bulk of the segment is actually linked to one thing, is green molecules. Now you need a green hydrogen, green ammonia to decarbonize shipping or aviation fuel, and also the steel making. But today's challenge, I think really in the world transition, green molecule is going to play a more important role. So previously, we focused very much on the green electrons. So that's why wind and the solar storage developed very fast. We have good policy, feed-in tariff. We have a contract for difference, UK offshore policies, German renewable energy law, which is laying very good foundation for taking off the renewable electricity. But now, the real challenge is this hard-to-abate segment. The green molecules is going to be so important.
And what do you think needs to be done there? What was your wish list?
So I do see, during COP, people have lots of discussion about phasing down of fossil fuel, oil and gas companies. But something really important, I think, is to build constructively the policy to industrialize the green molecules. Think about, so even some oil ministers said, the world is out of Stone Age, not because we run out of stone. Again, if we are out of fossil fuel, it's just not because we're phasing down the fossil fuel. It's just because we create the new iron, new bronze, so which is similar, is new molecules, new oil, should be industrialized. That's something is very critical. Today, if you see the policy around here, is too much debate. Okay, the bank say, okay, you don't have an offtake agreement, so we can give you the infrastructure project finance. And the company said, okay, I don't have scale. It's difficult for me to establish such a supply chain. And someone said, okay, we are the first mover for green ammonia, but the reality is, of green hydrogen, the offtake agreement, we're starting from 2026, 27. We are running out of time. So that's why I think the real industrialist, the real action, and also the entrepreneurship is going to be very important to demonstrate the world. Okay, how can we make the green molecule cost competitive? And one day, I arrived yesterday. One day before, I was in Mongolia. So Envision Net Zero Hydrogen Park. We are commissioning the first phase of the 1.5 million ton green ammonia and hydrogen project, which is the largest in the world. We are commissioning today. We are able to shipping green ammonia even at similar cost as gray ammonia. So we designed the whole system from wind turbine to storage system to hydrogen electrolyzer to ammonia synthesis. We redefined the system. So take actions. We even didn't have any long-term offtake agreement, but we decided, okay, so we should take a supply-driven approach to change the dynamics.
I mean, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. So you've built the first net zero manufacturing facility as well in Inner Mongolia, and that's a major focus for you to be going into this region. And the Chinese government as well. On Bloomberg Green, we did a story about how there's a major campaign underway to bring renewables to the deserts in China. I mean, what was the experience like on the ground, and how do you feel it is trying to advance this agenda in the world's biggest emitter?
Yeah, so I'm a fan of the remote area or desert area. So not only in Mongolia, I go to Morocco, go to Indonesia, all this area. I think about, from my point of view, for this energy transition, no matter developed country or developing country, we are all developing countries for this energy transitions. So, which is even a fantastic opportunity for developing countries. Why? So why is so difficult for them? Because normally there's too much sun, too much wind. It's difficult for people living there. But think about, this is so much energy, abundant renewable energy sources. It's about how can we turn these renewable energy sources into a fantastic integrate renewable energy production and renewable energy consumption approach in industrial park. That's something I do believe is going to be the most important way to decarbonize lots of segments. Think about today, why we all know wind and solar are cheaper than fossil fuel. We all know the world have plenty of renewable energy sources. Think about why we cannot just turn around overnight. Because people know to build a high voltage transmission grid take about 10 years. All the permissions, all kinds of things. But think about it, go to remote area, you don't even need a grid. We build our own renewable energy operating system. And you actually, this intermediate grid, actually you reduce significant part of cost. You don't have too much permissions. Nobody living there. And what do you need is actually put your industrialized industrial equipment, aluminum or hydrogen production facility, which now, because of digitalization and AI and all the advanced manufacturing equipment automations, which is not don't need too much people actually today, even can remotely do it. So this is going to be, my dream is for next 10 years to build 100 net zero industrial park in all the developing areas. So to really to become an important driver to decarbonization.
And I know, obviously, you're a strong advocate of getting out there and doing it and taking action on the ground, but a major conversation here at COP is financing. How do you finance these projects? And a lot of your projects now are in developed countries, but you're moving increasingly into developing countries. I mean, what do you think is the major barrier, and what do you think needs to be fixed to help?
Right, I think it's a good point. So this kind of multilateral kind of banks is very important for this developing country. Think about today, all these developing countries, they have abundant renewable sources, but they lack of the engineering talent. They lack of financial resources. So what I'm seeing the model is, so Envision, we are building the gigafactory in the UK, in France, all over the world, also other renewable infrastructures. So we are developing good relationship with the leading banks. And this technology company and also financial institution kind of combination, because leverage their existing relationship and know-how, then go together rather than financial organization alone to this developing country, go together, so which could be building a good foundation over there. So, for instance, we are strategically collaborating with HSBC globally. So, we are building gigafactory in the UK, building such a relationship which is going to make us a project in Middle East or go to Indonesia. So this kind of technology and financing and combination, which is also enhanced the confidence for each other, because you do give them this technology visibility, cost curve, and also so gives them the insight. Then financial organization, they are willing to take more calculated risks, which is also important.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of risk, so not only do you have to convince the investors, but you also have to convince local governments, local communities. I mean, what do you find is the most effective argument or effective approach when it comes to that?
Yeah, so far, the area I'm interested in is not a popular area, not a fancy place. So government would like to see me to go to the remote area. When I talked to Pedro Sanchez, I said, I'm going to Extremadura, which is south of Spain. So we want to build a national industrial park for gigafactory. So of course, I think everyone likes that because it's a fantastic opportunity for the local economy, for local industrial systems. So that's why I think the renewable energy revolution, and starting with edge, starting with developing countries or developing regions, or starting with where the grid is not strong, existing, where the fossil fuel, oil, gas is not strong. And this place is indeed, they need this renewable sources, they need energy, and also they need industrialization. So it's rather than defending, rather than welcoming. So that's, I think, this constructive approach is also be very important to have this inclusive development. I do believe this energy transition is a fantastic opportunity for lots of developing nations to build their renewable energy system, also the green industrial revolution ecosystems as well.
So, I mean, I just wanted to take a bit of time to just talk about COP itself. This COP28, I know it's your second day here, it's your fourth COP. I mean, as someone who's working in renewables on the ground at this scale, and then seeing this kind of more, this diplomatic process of COP, I mean, how do you bridge that disconnect, or how do you what's your reaction to people who say, all this is happening in a bubble and there's this disconnect between what's really happening on the ground?
Right, I think COP definitely is very important. If you look at back to the last 20 years, what's the most important events or policy or activity, which is one of them is a Paris Agreement, which has happened during the COP. So people is able to eventually reach the consensus. So it's a consensus building place, also have the objective timelines. So this is good, actually I think a very positive part of the COP. So again, we believe this kind of reality check, reflection taking, and especially on the objective consensus, timeline agreement is going to be very useful and effective for the global industrialists.
And what are you yourself looking out for most from this meeting?
Actually, I don't care too much. I just take actions.
So, we just wanted, I thought we previously, before we came on, we also wanted to talk a little bit about where you are looking, where you see opportunities specifically around the world, and what are the projects that you are most excited about?
Yeah, as I said, so this, from the shifting from green electron to green molecule is so fundamental, it's so important. Think about electron is not a material. So it's a form of energy. But in case, now in the future, we are not using gas, coal, oil. That's the material world we need. We cannot get carbon, because one thing we are using fossil fuel is get carbohydrate, carbon element and hydrogen element in the carbohydrate. So you see lots of material here is come from carbohydrate. Once this fossil fuel is not going to be used, so that's where is carbon coming from for making our material world working? What is the hydrogen coming from? So that's why this natural-based, this green molecules is going to play so important role. So this is not about only energy industry, also about the chemical, biological synthesis segment is going to have a fundamental shift. This is going to be tremendous. It's not only about the fuel, but also feedstocks.
Yeah, but what specifically is Envision doing to take advantage of that? And
yeah, so we have the venture capital arm to particularly look at synthetic biology. We invest in company using DNA editing to modifying the microalgae to making them to taking CO2, convert. It's created as new photosynthesis. I think end of the day, think about today's all the fossil fuel is coming from photosynthesis. It's algae, which is 100 million years ago. They take solar energy and photosynthesis become carbohydrate, then so in the ground. So that's the energy today we are coming from. So we need to create a new photosynthesis process, which is much faster, much bigger, and much effective. So that's why tremendous renewable energy needed, but also tremendous industrial system needed to create such a new photosynthesis process.
And in Asia specifically, what are you doing to advance your goals?
Yeah, so we are active in Indonesia, we are active in Vietnam, we are active in India. Basically, Envision is a truly global company. 60% of employees are global talents. So for Asia, I think the energy demand and also is huge, and the younger population, growth potential. So if we are able to solving this renewable energy supply, it's really become providing a strong growth engine for the local economy. So if you cannot fix well, it also could be another problem for the growth for this region.
Okay, I think we're coming to the end of our time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.